This is Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Danger.
This is Terence Bud Crawford. Canelo versus Crawford. A true super.
The Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez showdown feels unreal. Relive the biggest highlights from fight week and hear exactly what the experts predicted.
Hagler and Leonard and Duran and Tommy Hearns and those kind of fighters, and by the way, Sanchez and Gomez and the great fights from years ago. This is one of those, and you're all a part of it.
They said a fight begins long before the bell, in the mornings when the city is still half asleep, when two men separately choose to put their bodies through the small, relentless torments that make legends. And in that camp, Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez were buried inside those rituals, each team its own world. Crawford's preparation looked like a focused transformation, climbing up in weight to meet Canelo at super middle, and he rebuilt his body with a careful gain that wasn't just about size, but about holding on to the slippery speed and precision that kept him unbeaten. His trainers fine-tuned strength and nutrition, so those added pounds carried power rather than drag. His sparring came with bigger men, and his conditioning was shaped to fuel the movement that let him pick shots and vanish. On the other side, Canelo's camp carried the weight of a masterclass in measured intensity. He put in the obvious work, pads, mitts, rounds on the bag, but layered in unorthodox drills that spoke to a career built on hard-earned instincts. He kicked a soccer ball to keep his feet quick and vision sharp, shifting between technical drills and flashes that reminded everyone he was still an elite athlete at 168 pounds. Both camps dropped teasers, and the story wrote itself. The compact ring-schooled sharpshooter versus the seasoned championship frame. But beneath the clips and the hype, the daily grind looked strikingly similar for both fighters. Size and history blurred the clean narrative. Canelo carried weight, championship experience, and the aura of a man who had survived every storm. Crawford carried an unbeaten record, ring IQ, and the hunger to chase a risky win that could carve his place among the greats. On fight night, it wouldn't be the videos or the weigh-in reports that decided it. It would be which preparation became moments, the split-second instincts, the lungs of iron, and the courage to take and to give. And for all the build-up, that was where fight was truly won. Meanwhile, boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. shared his bold prediction before the fight. There had been plenty of talk about the weight difference. Bud moving up a division. Jones Jr. believed Crawford had built enough muscle that it wouldn't be a deciding factor in the bout. He said, "Terence has been bulking up to the weight, just like I did as a heavyweight. If he can deal with super middleweights and light heavyweights in training, he can deal with them in the fight. The weight should not even be an issue." In an interview with The Ring, Jones Jr. admitted that if money were on the line, he'd bet on Crawford, saying the American fighter had far more paths to victory than the Mexican superstar. He explained, "If Canelo fights the absolute correct fight that he can fight, he does have a chance, and I think he could be victorious. If he doesn't, Crawford has 6 ways that he can win it. My money would go with a guy who has 6 ways to win it over the man who has won." Jones Jr. didn't just talk to The Ring about the upcoming super fight. He also appeared on All the Smoke, where he once again raised doubts about Canelo. The former 4-weight champion believed Crawford remained hungry and determined to accomplish more in boxing, but he wasn't sure Canelo still had that same drive, though he didn't elaborate on why he felt that way. With all the obstacles Crawford faced, moving up in weight, dealing with ring rust, and navigating a tricky style matchup, it marked the first time he couldn't fully assert dominance or overwhelm his opponent at will. That led some to wonder if Crawford had already reached his physical peak, and whether his most dominant performances might now be in the past. For Canelo, he was coming off a lackluster unanimous decision over William Skull, a fight that set CompuBox records for all the wrong reasons, mostly tied to offensive inactivity. While much of the blame fell on Skull, who circled the ring to avoid engagement, Canelo's performance still raised questions about his ability to cut off the ring and his hunger in the later stages of his career. Questions like that have surfaced countless times before career-defining nights, and more often than not, they've been brushed off as overreactions, the kind of noise made by observers chasing shadows. In truth, one could argue that to reach the longevity and greatness required to be remembered as a Hall of Famer, a fighter must survive storms of doubt and rise stronger at least once in their career. Meanwhile, Jeff Horn has stepped forward with his prediction for Canelo versus Crawford. He recalled how Crawford claimed his first world welterweight title by stopping Horn in the 9th round back in 2018. And Horn believes Canelo will likely come out fast, trying to overwhelm Crawford from the opening bell. He can, however, also picture Bud weathering the storm, outsmarting Canelo, and ultimately defeating the Mexican in the later rounds. Horn told Fight Hub TV, "It's either going to be a stoppage early for Canelo, just trying to batter Crawford because of the size difference, or Crawford outsmarts him in there and clips him and tires him out using his boxing skills and potentially finishes Canelo later in the fight like he did with myself." Speaking of Crawford's chances of finishing Canelo, he said the shots are razor accurate, and if he survives the early heat from Canelo, if that's the plan, it could drain him. That would open the window for Terence Crawford to start reading the gaps and landing the telling blows. He could certainly wear Canelo down and stop him late. It's absolutely possible. At the same time, boxing icon and former champion Andre Ward is widely respected as one of the sharpest voices in the sport. His insight secured him a seat as analyst for the Netflix broadcast of the showdown between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. Ward has spoken before about what he expects when the two collide. As he said on Instagram last month, one of Canelo's greatest weapons is ring presence. Even while resting, he presses forward, always looking in control. It wears down his opponents because they feel like they can never breathe. He also explained, "Both Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez are puncher boxers, not boxer punchers. They both can box, but that's not what they really want. They want to do damage. When they do box, it's to recover, reset, or set up the attack they truly want. But come September, both men need to be boxer punchers. They can get to the power game, but they can't be reckless about it." In that earlier analysis, Ward didn't give a clear prediction about who he believed would win. Ward, however, made it plain in an August 29th interview with Fight Hype, sending a strong message about who he thinks comes out on top. He said, "I'm going with Terence Crawford. Big weight jump. A dangerous fight. But somebody has got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out in there against you. It ain't no disrespect to Canelo, but I've said this. I'm not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You've got to show me that you can beat him." Ryan Garcia, appearing on the August 29th episode of Cigar Talk, said he believed Bud would land plenty of clean shots, but that he didn't expect Bud to win. He added that while Crawford might tag Canelo, those punches would probably have no effect.
Bud's going to do good. He's going to do good, but I don't think he's going to win. But I do see Bud, like, getting a lot of punches off, being able to tag Canelo with some good shots, but they have no effect. That's the thing.
He has the best chin that I've ever seen.
And nothing
in my
moves his head.
In his final prediction, Garcia admitted that Crawford is a great fighter, one of the very best of this era. But in his eyes, Bud may be stepping into waters too deep, taking on more than even his brilliance can handle against Canelo.
One of the best. I just think that he's biting a little bit more than he could chew. But you never know. If anybody can do it, it could be Crawford. You know, I do see him, like, when he fights, I'm like, damn, how do you beat this guy? You know, he could do it all. He could box. He bang.
Garcia, who once firmly expected Canelo to win, now seems to be rethinking his stance, acknowledging that Alvarez faces a far tougher challenge than he first believed. "My problem with Canelo is his intensity. He doesn't have the same fire he used to, and I think that's going to be the biggest issue," Garcia explained in an interview with The One Boxing. Can he still counterpunch? Yes. Can he still be slick? Absolutely. But does he have the same energy, the same intensity he had when he was younger, or even when he fought Caleb Plant? For me, that's the question. Can he find that second, third effort? Because that's where he struggles. Against Bivol, when he was forced to deal with extra movement and extra shots, his defense broke down and he ended up out of position. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss future updates. Share your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think takes it, Canelo or Crawford? Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.